So the question of today is gold, silver, or other precious metals, are they a good investment for this year, 2020? And if so, how do you do that here in Canada? If that's the kind of question that you're struggling with or you're looking for more information, that's what we're going to discuss today. So stay tuned. Now, really quickly, if you are new to my videos or channel, welcome. I publish content focusing on the Canadian context of investing and investing in multiple different vehicles, be it stocks, be it precious metals and alternative investments, which is going to be the topic today, or be it real estate. I share what I've learned and my own personal experiences in investing in all three of those areas. So if that's of any value to you, I welcome you to hit the subscribe button and also hit the bell button below so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, before I get into today's topic, I really want to be clear that I am not a professional investment advisor. I do these videos to share what I've learned and to share my own personal experience. And frankly, I do not recommend you ever take advice from any kind of video, but it can be part of your due diligence and building your own education around a topic. But any professional advice should be garnered from someone who's certified, one. Two, really want to avoid people taking advice from people who have any sort of financial benefit for selling you the product that they're advising you to buy. Two. And the third one is everybody's situation is different. So if that person who's giving you advice hasn't gotten a good understanding of your situation and your personal risk profile, then they're not the best source of advice for you. Personally, as well, as a final point, I believe that we each need to take ownership of our own investment performance. At the end of the day, it's your money and it should be your final decision about where it goes and how it's invested, right? And even if you have a great advisor who's doing a good job, but you yourself are not staying on top of what's happening and understanding, I don't believe that's a strategy for success. I believe that every person, whatever they're investing in, they need to make sure they understand exactly what they're getting into. And if you have an advisor who's not willing to explain fully or just telling you, trust me, it's a great investment, and keeping it very high level that you still don't understand, run. Sorry, I just get really passionate about that and I go a little bit off topic, but run the other way. All right, let's get into today's topic. So, is gold or silver and other precious metals a good investment for 2020? You know, that's a pretty broad topic. So I've written some notes and here are the key topics that I'm going to cover in answering that question. The first question is it risky? Right? The second question is, or second area is advantages and disadvantages of investing in precious metals. The third one is, how do you do that here in Canada? What are the different vehicles or ways that you can invest in precious metals here in Canada? I'm going to take a little bit of time looking at the different charts in terms of historical performance of precious metal investing. And then I'm also going to share a little bit about my own experience and some specific companies and things that I've dealt with and done investing in precious metals through. Excuse me. All right. So the first question, is it risky? Now, my answer might be a little bit odd to you, but here's my answer. I believe that risk is primarily a function of two things. One, your understanding of what you're investing in, and two, your discipline, plan, or approach or investment style. And so if I was to keep that really simple, I would say, do you know what you're doing? And are you emotional or not? And do you have structures in place, knowing yourself and a plan, knowing how you behave to maximize your investment return. Now, I know it might not have been the answer that you had expected, but really think about it. No matter what you invest in, there's going to be risks because you're not going to get any kind of return without risk. You invest in a stock and get a return because you're risking that money in that particular vehicle. So there's inherent risk in any investment vehicle. But it gets more risky if you have no clue about the fundamentals and what drives that return that you're getting for your investment, right? So the very first thing that I highly recommend, as I stated in my intro, is to get clear understanding of what you're investing in. If you don't understand what you're investing in, don't invest in it. And the second one is, we are emotional creatures as human beings. We have fear, we get excited about things. And so there's always a need to be disciplined in your investing. I do not believe that you should expect to have exceptional performance every year. It's just not possible. Or I believe it's not possible. And I believe if you target that, it is underlying greed, and it can be a huge risk. I believe that wealth is built by steady plodding. You know, it's like the tortoise versus the hare. And so given that, it really deals with your discipline. Are you consistent in putting your money into your investments? Do you have boundaries and rules around how much you invest where? So that even if you get excited about something, you have a rule that can be a boundary against that emotion that might cause you to go astray and get into more risk than actually you want to take on. All right. So that's my answer. There is inherent risk in anything you invest in, but it gets more risky if you don't understand it and you don't have any discipline, format, rules, or boundaries around how you plan to invest. All right. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of investing in precious metals? So the advantages of investing in precious metals, gold or silver, is one, it's considered a hedge against inflation. So it's a store of value. So whenever you're seeing the value of money go down because prices are inflating, the value of gold and other precious metals are also going to increase. So you keep the value of your investments. Second, it's considered recession insurance, or I consider it recession insurance. And basically what that is that typically when you see the stock market going into a bear market or a recession, precious metals and other commodity store of value investments tend to increase in value. And so they become a hedge on the losses that you may retain within your portfolio that's invested in equities. Okay, so those are, to me, the two key advantages. The disadvantages is that, to me, the biggest one is that there's no passive income. What do I mean by that? The gold that you invest in, it doesn't have any children. It's not like a piece of real estate that you can rent to someone and get some income stream, so that not only do you get the appreciation of the value, but you also get income during the tenure that you own it. It's just a store of value. There's no source of income for precious metals. The second thing is to beware of bubbles. And personally, I think you beware of bubbles with anything you invest. And that's when everybody wants to buy it because it suddenly becomes the thing that everybody wants to get. Then there's that mania, and then there's that shoot up in price, and there's maybe a little bit of disconnect between the actual price and the intrinsic value at that point in time. And whenever there's a bubble, there's eventually a pop of that bubble and a huge significant decline in value. So you want to beware of that. The last disadvantage is precious metals, when compared to the historical returns of the stock market, i.e. the S&P or the Dow Jones, over a long period of time, they perform less, right? And really, if you think about it, those companies that are on the Dow Jones or S&P, they're investing in research. They're creating income and investing back in their company and growing and growing and growing. While with gold, again, it's just a store of value. There's no income and there's no investing that's being done to make this a better product. It's just a store of value. All right. So now, how can you invest in precious metals here in Canada? There are several ways that you can invest. You can invest in physical gold. So you can actually go out to a gold or precious metals dealer here in Canada and buy yourself physical bars or coins. I personally, I just don't have the knowledge. So for me, it's high risk in terms of investing in coins or what they call collectibles, basically. For me, it's investing in the gold bars. So you can go out and buy and personally store somewhere in your home or in a city deposit the physical bars. Or you can work with a company and buy the physical bars and get them to store it securely with you, usually through companies like Brinks and whatnot. You can invest in what we call ETFs, which are electronically traded funds. So basically a type of mutual fund. You can invest in stocks. You can invest in gold mining stocks. So companies who actually have mines that dig out these precious metals and then refine them and sell them. You can invest in mutual funds, and a mutual fund is just a pool of investing that's, again, investing in these different precious metal companies. And finally, you can invest in collectibles / jewelry. You know, not a lot of people consider investing in gold jewelry a way to invest in jewelry, but I'm from the Caribbean, and I know back when I was very young, that was very much considered, to keep your gold jewelry. And if anything happens, you can melt it down and make it into a coin or a bar. And so I personally believe that within certain quality of gold jewelry, holding jewelry and other collectibles in high quality gold can also be a way of investing in gold. Okay, so I will try my best now to share my screen. And I just want to quickly walk you through some historical charts on how gold and silver has performed relative to, I said, for example, the S&P or Dow Jones. So when you look at this chart, I'm using the website longtermtrends.net, but I mean, you can go into Google and Google gold price chart, silver price chart, and you can get a whole bunch of sites. But what I liked about this chart was that you could choose your date range. So I have it set from 1990 to 2020, which is basically 30-year time range. And what it's done is that each line on this chart is a type of product. The gold line is gold, the silver line is silver, the blue is Dow Jones, and the red is S&P. So you can see over the span of these 30 years that is shown here that at the end of the day, the investment portfolio that performed the best was those stocks, S&P and Dow Jones. There was a good positive increase in everything, be it investment in a stock portfolio or an investment in the precious metals, but there was much more significant gain in value in investing in stocks. One of the other things I want to draw to your attention is that there was quite a bit of volatility in the investment of silver, that precious metal silver versus gold. And you can see that here, it goes up and down, while gold was a bit more of a softer curve. It's had a little bit of downtime in the recent past. And that's what I want to just quickly look at now. So I'm going to change this to 2010. So you can see that as the stock market has increased in value, gold has actually stayed about the same. And it's only in the recent couple of days here that we've seen a peak in gold, and even in the last couple of years, a peak in gold. And personally, what I believe that is there are quite a few people like myself who are putting a little bit more of their portfolio into gold, silver, and other precious metals as a hedge because they felt the market was going to reach a peak soon and turn into what we're experiencing now. And I mean, who would have thought that something like COVID-19 would spark such a significant change in our lifestyle? I mean, I'm grateful to have lived through a few recessions during my life, and this is definitely the first recession where I've been mainly restricted to staying indoors. And so that leads me to my next point, which is it's great to study historical charts and it's great to understand history, but history is not necessarily an indicator of the future. And personally, my opinion is that the future is, we're in a whole new different economy. I find just the way how the government is pumping fiat currency or paper money into the economy, it's just a whole new world. And so I think it's good to understand history, but you can't expect history to necessarily repeat itself. And I personally think it's a whole new world. And what I mean by that is to go a little bit deeper. If you are familiar, if you read a little bit about investing in gold or you've seen other videos, there's a talk about with the recession, the government may return to a gold standard, which is basically back many years ago, the actual dollars that we spent were backed and tied to the value of gold. So anytime the government issued money, they had to have enough gold in their treasury to support the value of the currency in the market. That's not the case. That was stopped many years ago now. And so literally, the government can print money anytime they want. And globally, almost all the governments are doing it because it's such a necessity now, especially in this time this unprecedented time that we're living in right now. And so from my point of view, the fact that we've been printing billions and billions of dollars, be it in Canada, be it in the US, be it in Europe, it's getting further and further from the possibility that we can actually return to a gold standard because there's not enough gold to support the value of money that's being injected into the economy, literally millions by day, right? And really, the pandemic that we have been living through is still relatively fresh. And we here in Canada specifically, we're still waiting for the flattening of the curve that they talk about, which is, the number of new cases is declining or leveling out, which is what they consider to be when the curve turns and we're starting to get into a recovery from the pandemic and people can start to figure out and plan about a potential return to work. And I don't feel like that's clearly here yet. And so, as I think I said it in the beginning of my video, it's really day by day. And as I say now, we're in a completely, personally, in my opinion, we're in a completely new economic environment. All right. So I talked about risk. Is investing in precious metals a risky investment? I talked about advantages and disadvantages. I talked about how you could invest in precious metals. Now I'm going to specifically just share my own personal experiences in investing in precious metals. I've actually invested in precious metals in multiple ways, but I really want to be clear as well is that it's still a very small proportion of my investment portfolio. And I want to stop and camp on that because one of the things I really want to highlight on my channel is that yes, I'm definitely pro investing in precious metals because I've done it and I am happy with what I've done. But for people who are investing 50% or even 20% of their investment portfolio in gold or silver, or those who are recommending it on other channels, I just disagree with that. And that's my personal opinion. I welcome you to share your opinion in the comments section below. What do you believe in terms of investing in precious metals, and how much do you think of your portfolio or anyone's portfolio should be invested in precious metals? Personally, because I'm using it as a hedge, I have limited the value of my investments in precious metals to 5% or less of my total investment portfolio. And when I'm talking about investment portfolio, personally, I'm talking about my investments not only in the stock market, but in real estate and in business, right? So what did I do? So I have actually used and invested with a company called Regal Assets, and it's one of my recommended companies if you're looking to invest in physical gold. So I've actually invested through them and purchased physical golds. Again, I am not into paying the premium for collectibles. Just give me the solid bar, high quality, and I'm good. I've also invested in what they call paper gold, which is basically the ETFs, right? And I did that through my bank TD. I invest through direct investing TD, self-managed investing, and I did some investing in gold ETFs through them. And I did that primarily for my kids' RESPs to hedge the value of those investments. And if you're not familiar with RESPs, those are registered educational saving plans that basically an investment vehicle here in Canada that as a parent, the government supports you saving for your children's post-secondary education. And I'll do another video on that another date. So I've invested in gold ETFs through the RESP for my kids, and also a small investment portfolio I have with TD as well under my RRSP. And those are the main ways that I've invested. I considered and I did look at investing in gold and silver companies, but not a lot of them make money. So, and as far as I'm concerned, one of my basic rules is any company that I invest in has got to make money and it doesn't have to be highly leveraged. And that's like the opposite in the mining industry. There's often a struggle to contain costs, and they tend to be very highly leveraged, which means high debt proportion on their balance sheet. And so from my personal risk level and my personal investing philosophy, I have chosen to invest in precious metals to a maximum of 5%, and actually probably a little bit less than that, of my investment portfolio. And I've just done it with physical gold and gold ETFs. So that's the video for today. I welcome you to comment with any questions you have, or even share your own personal experience. I am a big fan of Robert Kiyosaki, and so I've read a ton of his books. And that's what really got me started to learning about investing in gold and silver. And the very first way that I started was actually buying physical. And I focused on buying physical silver bars at first because I didn't have a lot of money and that was what was available to me. And as I grew in my understanding and my portfolio grew, I invested in a little bit of gold. I'm still big on silver. I feel like when I look at what I've invested in both gold and silver in almost every portfolio that I've invested in, be it the ETF or the physical goods. And I've actually invested, when I think about proportionate value within that, like say 50% gold, 50% silver, I think I went 75 silver, 25% gold. And I basically was like, silver seems so underpriced right now. It seems like this is my opinion again, it seems like it's being overlooked. And I think in the short term to medium term, that could correct itself. But anyway, I'm a long-term investor, and I've even knowing, first of all, I'm a female, so we tend to be more emotional, knowing my human fallacies and knowing that although we love to think that we can beat the curve, in the end, we trend to average. I've limited myself to the amount that I could invest in total in precious metals. And I would recommend you do the same too. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love a thumbs up. I welcome your comments and shares about your experience in investing in precious metals or gold, and also gold, silver, other precious metals like palladium, for example, I didn't talk about, but it's a precious metal. And I also would welcome any comments with questions that you feel you'd like to see me answer in another video. I am going to try my best to upload videos on a weekly basis. And so again, I welcome you to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned. Thanks for watching and see you next time.